All right, guys, turn your radio up. I don't know why some of you asked for this individual to come on the podcast. Like it blows my mind, but he's going to attempt to be funny today. I just had to let you know that he is an ex-comedian, but he's also a rock star real estate investor. You guys know him as the King of Lease Options, Mr. John Jackson, coming on the show once again, one of the most popular guests that we've had on here. John, welcome to the show. How you doing, man?
What is up, Connor, man? Good to see you. Good to see you, man. I'm glad to see you're still cutting your own hair. That looks nice.
I mean, that's why it looks so good, right?
Yeah, it looks good. I hope the chemo is coming along nicely.
Jeez. See, I told you guys, bad jokes right off the bat. Okay. Now, John, let's talk about this real quick. Why are lease options becoming more and more popular right now going in the top of the market? What is it that is going to give these investors another tool in their tool bag to capitalize on this coming recession, which a lot of people are scared about, but people like you, Mitch, all of us that know what's happening are actually excited about. So let's talk about that, because I think this is going to be an interesting topic today of why this is becoming an emerging trend that's popping, kind of resurfacing again, while it's becoming a bigger opportunity.
Yeah. So, I've talked about this on webinars before and shown actual graphs of the real estate market and the charts. And my background is actually day trading. So my background is the stock market and trading options. That's how I got into lease options. But because of my background with the stock market and technical analysis, I'm used to seeing trends and charts and everything. And so, as we know, all markets are cyclical. I don't care if it's futures, energy, if it's stocks, commodities, real estate, everything that's a market. All markets are cyclical. And so, obviously, we saw the 08-09 crash. We saw the bubble leading up to it. Well, we're going through for about the last year. We've seen the market start pulling back. And here's the thing, and this is your listeners or viewers need to know this. Whenever you see something on the news about the market, keep in mind what they're reporting was probably taking place about 6 or 8 months ago. They're that far behind. Okay, so for example, go to day traders. Day traders don't trade off CNBC, right? Because that's old data. So the market has been pulling back for about a year. The first place I saw was actually in Phoenix, as I was looking at some neighborhoods out there, and so we're seeing that market pull back. And as far as recession, the overall market itself is going to pull back. It's just natural to, because it's cyclical. So how does that affect us in real estate, and how do we position ourselves? Well, with me, my specialty, as most people know, is lease options. And so with lease options, we work with nice houses, nice areas, but we also don't need a lot of equity. You see, investors typically need, wholesalers, as we all know, need that 70% rule, 70% minus repairs, minus their fee, and there you go. With me, with lease options, we don't need really any equity. We work with people that only have, say 2% equity in it, 5% equity. We can still make money off that using lease options. And so what we do is what we do is lease option assignments. That's what we specialize in. Now there's 3 types of lease options, which we don't have to go into detail on this particular call. But there's sandwich lease options where you stay in the middle, straight lease options, and lease option assignments. That's what we focus on. It's on those lease option assignments where you don't need a lot of equity at all. And what happens is, as you and I were talking about before we started recording here, is the first homeowners, the first sellers that start feeling the crunch, the pain of the market pulling back, are the people that are over a certain price range. Here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, you're looking at houses that are over $325,000. Those people, you look and see 60 days on the market, that number goes up and up and up. And where we're seeing it in particular, or even in, you and I are in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've got students in Houston, as an example, and we're seeing the same thing in both markets, where if you go outside the circle of, say, Fort Worth, outside the circle of Dallas, outside the circle of Houston, you go to those outlying areas, that's where we're seeing it actually affecting them first. So, for example, in Dallas-Fort Worth, McKinney, Princeton, Melissa, you were talking about, say, Denison, but Frisco even. And now people thinking that are from Dallas-Fort Worth go, Frisco, there's no way you can do any deals in there. Everybody wants to live in Frisco. Yeah, we'll pull the over 60-day list and see how it is growing and growing, because you have so much new build out there that the people that I literally had 2 houses. Get this, Connor. I literally had 2 houses on the same street in McKinney, up in what was it called, Trinity Falls, I think, beautiful neighborhood. Same street. They were 2 years old. 2 years old, and you had to drive right by the model homes to get to their home. So what do you think buyers are going to do? They're not going to stop. They're not going to drive by the model homes to get to the one that's been lived in for 2 years. They're going to stop at the model home and pick out their colors, their tile, and this and that. So lease options are a great tool to have in your tool belt. So what happens is we work with a lot of wholesalers as well that are spending thousands on marketing, right? They got all these leads coming in, and if they don't fit their little bucket, their little formula, they're dead. They don't know what to do with them. That's where we come in.
Yeah, I mean, that's so powerful because think about this. Most of these investors getting in the marketplace, that's the only thing they know how to do is make a lowball cash offer. If it doesn't go well, they go on to the next one and they keep pumping money out in marketing. But look at this, guys. So in Dallas, Fort Worth, what do you say, John? Probably between $200,000 and $230,000, it starts to become negative cash flow if they were to rent the property between the county taxes and what they can rent it for in Dallas right now, which means that most wholesalers are trying to market to that price point property because they're the highest. The person that's going to pay the most for a cash buyer, as far as a cash buyer goes, you're going to have flipper, landlord, owner, finance investor in that order of who's going to pay the least to most. And so they're looking for cash flow properties because that's where their biggest wholesale deals are. But now they have these nice new builds and nice new houses that have no equity in them. They can't make a lowball cash offer. And this is a great way for them to pick up extra income streams with that marketing dollar that they're already spending. Also, they can now make money on pretty houses. Let's talk about this here real quick. The difference between the three different types of lease options, because people will be upset if I didn't bring that up again, because you mentioned that. Because this is, a lot of people are at different stages of their evolution of their business. And so you have a straight line option, a sandwich lease option, and assignment of a lease option, right?
Right.
What y'all are doing right now with these nicer, prettier houses with no equity is the assignment of lease option. But let's talk about all three here real quick and kind of break it down, because in different parts of the country, Texas is a little bit different, but in other parts of the country, they are staying in the deal. And you probably know more than I would do the different markets.
You mean people outside of Texas, outside of DFW, are going to see this? You're that popular that you're on national YouTube? Is that what you're saying?
I had to bring you on here so I could get 17 views. So I'm expanding, but we're getting out there.
Woo, all right. I bet you don't even post this. You don't have the huevos to even post this on YouTube.
These are the ones that go directly in the trash can. Most people see the ones that don't get aired, but usually they're John's episodes.
You're recording me. This is community service for you. All right. So let's talk about the three different types of lease options. And we can even talk a little bit, if you want to, about Texas lease options. That's one of the things I'm really known for. Is I'm the only educator that teaches Texas lease options. But first, let's talk about the three types of lease options. There's the straight lease option, the sandwich, and the assignment. Now, the straight lease option is very simple. It's just where if you own a property and rather than renting it out, you decide, you know what, I'm okay selling this if the price is right, but you don't want to deed it over, right, like you would on an owner finance. So you do a straight lease option, okay? There's no middleman. You're just, instead of renting it out, you're doing a straight lease option between you and the end buyer, all right? So the end buyer has the right to buy that property within whatever that time frame is for a set price. And you're getting non-refundable money up front, typically 4 or 5%. And so that's a straight lease option. The sandwich lease option, which you can't do a sandwich in Texas, which we can talk about that in a little bit if you want. But the sandwich lease option is where you stay in the middle. You're sandwiched between the seller and the buyer. So in that case, you're negotiating as low a price as you can, as low a monthly payment as you can. And then you're going to lock it up with a contract. You're going to market that to the end buyer. The end buyer's coming along. You're going to market it at a higher price and a higher monthly payment. And so what's going to happen is that end buyer is going to give you down payment or option fee. You're going to be cash flowing each month, right? And then if he does get financed, you're going to have equity upon cash out, all right? Now what happens though is the buyer's paying you, you pay the owner. The buyer pays you, you pay the owner. So you're sandwiched between the two. Go ahead.
Three potential profit centers.
Yes, there's three profits. So in a straight lease option, there's two profit centers. Well, three actually. In a straight, there's the option fee, the non-refundable option fee, the cash flow, and then if they cash you out, the equity. In the same thing with a sandwich, there's the option fee that they're giving you, the monthly cash flow, and then equity upon cash out. Now, the third type It's called, it's lease option. It's wholesaling. I'm sorry. My friend Joe McCall calls it wholesaling lease option. It's a little misnomer because you're not wholesaling anything, but it's a catchy phrase. You're actually doing a lease option assignment. So you're assigning that lease option to the end buyer. So you don't negotiate with the owner. You don't try to negotiate them down on anything. So, for example,
I should do a case study.
Yeah, if they want $300,000, you're setting the numbers that say 305, 308, whatever. You're setting the monthly payment. They're getting full boat. They're getting full price, no commission. So on a $400,000 house, they're going to save minimum $24,000, or going to make $24,000 minimum more. So on a lease option assignment, you put all the numbers together with the owner. They say, hey, that looks great. You then assign that contract to the end buyer. That end buyer pays your assignment fee, right? And now that end buyer is paying the homeowner each month. You made your assignment fee, you're out of the deal. And so those are 3 types of lease options.
So what's a typical, let's say I have a house that I'm trying to sell, I can't sell it, it's $350,000. You contact me through a postcard and you're marketing to me because I'm 60 days plus on market, which is interesting, which I want to talk about this as well, is that you're marketing to listed properties.
Yes.
And how that works with the agent involved. And then let's say, so your profit on an average deal is say $350K. What would your typical assignment for that lease option be?
For that would be around $16,000.
$16,000? Wow. That's more than I thought it would be. Yeah.
So what happens? Yeah, so we get about 4%. So for the people listening or watching, if you see online about people getting 10% down or 15% down option fee or assignment fee, that's incredibly rare, and normally I would call BS on that. More realistic is about 4 to 5%. So in most houses we get about 4%. As we get to what's going to be outside of FHA limits, we'll go about 5% down, or option fee, I should say. So yeah, so $300,000 house, we're going to get 12 to 14,000 down.
Yeah, that's really good. So think about this, guys. If you're a young wholesaler out there pumping money in the business, or even just a flipper, or you're trying to build your portfolio, you're marketing all this money, putting this in the marketplace, you're getting these leads coming in. Usually what they do, John, is they just trash them. They don't think anything can be done with it. And now you have the option to lease option the house, take it over subject to. You could be potentially throwing 16K checks away every single time you get these low equity leads just because you didn't know what you didn't know. Okay, so what about the agent process? This is interesting. So you actually work with agents and market to agents with listed properties, and kind of what are some of the criteria? So 60 days plus on market, so you want some level of motivation. What else is an indicator that the homeowner may have more motivation to do a lease option?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I get asked all the time, how do you work with listed houses? Because it just baffles people. Well, it's really easy. If the house is listed by an EXP agent, it's easy because they're not doing their job at all. They're crap agents.
He's mocking.
I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. I'm just jacking with Connor. If Connor worked for Keller Williams, I'd say I'd jack with Keller Williams.
Now you're in trouble with EXP and Keller Williams.
That's okay. Everybody hates me because I buck the trend, man. So what we do?
Everyone just go on.
We market for FSBOs, for rent by owners as well, but for direct mail, we have a very specific trifold brochure that we are always tweaking and tweaking. We've used it for years, and it's one of the most powerful mail pieces that we've used, far better than any postcard we've ever seen. And we send that to over 60 or over 90-day listed houses. Now, I can do that because I'm not a real estate agent, okay? So I can do that. If you're an agent, you can't do that. You've got to have someone else in your business partner, whatever the case may be, all right? But in my case, I'm not an agent, so we hit over 60 and over 90-day listings. Now, I don't go and solicit the agent. We're just sending them to the homeowners, right? The homeowners then contact us, hey, I got your thing in the mail. How does this work? And we explain, the bullet points of the lease purchase. And then as far as their agent, we explain to them, I had this conversation yesterday with an agent. Sometimes the agent will call me, but very, very rarely. But how it works with the agent is I tell the homeowner, let the agent know that you're looking to offer as a lease purchase, but by all means, keep that listing. So you've got both poles in the water, right? We're just another marketing avenue, if you will. And if we lease purchase it, let me back up. If the agent gets a contract first, the owner never, ever, ever, ever pays us anything, right? So it doesn't cost them anything. It's free. And so But now if we lease purchase it first, that's up to the owner and agent. The owner may have an agreement with the agent to pay them whatever, one full month of payment, or maybe some flat fee. I don't know, whatever. That's between the agent, doesn't involve me. But having said that, a lot of the houses we work with are listed at the same time. But I never talk to the agent because it's between the owner and the agent.
So they don't just give them a full commission, because technically if they have
it's totally between the owner and the agent. In 16 years, I've never ever had any issue, because that's between the owner and the agent. I have seen, and because that's not, I don't deal with that end of it. That's, again, I don't have the contract with them, but I have seen a couple of times where an owner, their listing agreement said that if they canceled, they owed like, whatever it was, some flat fee of like $700 or something. I don't remember, right? And so, but again, that's between the owner and the agent, Now, if an agent were to bring us a property, let's say an agent is saying, man, I've got this, and this happened a lot. An agent says, I've got this house that, I'm about to lose the listing. We can come in and actually save that listing for the agent. And here's how. Is because, as as an agent, if you've got a listing that's 30 days, 45, 60 days old, that owner is losing faith in that agent, right? And depending on the length of that listing agreement, if that agent's about to lose that listing, if they contact us, we can actually come in and salvage that listing for that agent. And here's how. We can talk to that owner, say, hey, listen, here's what we do with the lease purchase, right? Here's the bullet points, et cetera, et cetera. Now, Mr. Owner, ideally, we'd like you to keep that listing with Sally, with whatever, Angie the agent, whatever. Keep that listing in place, because that's very powerful, Mr. Seller. Keep that listing and let us do the lease purchase marketing on our end. Because you'd be surprised, Mr. Owner, how many times we get our marketing going, which is different than an agent does, and suddenly within a month, or 3 weeks, you've got a contract. So what happens is you can see how we're helping that agent salvage that listing they knew they were about to lose, right? Because we're telling that owner, hey, please keep that listing while you're using us. So you've got the powerful force of the MLS, the agent, and the powerful force of leasing to buy behind you.
Right. What about repairs? This is probably something that comes up quite a bit. What happens if it's a nicer house, but a lot of times even houses 1 year old? I mean, if you guys are rental or landlords and you have rental properties, you know how fast they can demolish a property. Like sometimes in a couple of months, it looks like a bomb went off. But this could be all surface level. This could be just paint and carpet. They could destroy the carpets. What if there's like $8,000 to repaint the house and put new carpet in there, but it's going to really push up the value that they can sell it for? Who covers that cost? How's that worked out with the homeowner? What kind of
Are you talking about repairs or updates needed before the buyer moves in?
Yeah, like let's say my house.
We take it as is. We almost never ever tell the owner to say paint, as an example, unless they've got like skull and crossbones, where they're doing rituals, some sort of weird ritual, like you've done before, in your youth.
Like your house where you have a bunch of giant Teletubbies everywhere.
Teletubbies and wax going down the walls, and yeah. But where did that even come from?
I don't know. It's something I saw last time I was over there. How did you come up with that idea?
I don't know. It had something to do with a trip you and I took to Mexico. But
I'll go there.
But anyway, so I rarely tell the owner to do any repairs unless it really needs to be done. Because I don't want to see them invest more money into it, right? The clientele we're working with on the buying side, they're coming in knowing they're taking it as is, where is. Now, having said that, we only work with houses that are move-in ready. There's no sweat equity with us. It's move-in ready. It's not like it's move-in ready, but the AC doesn't work. No, that's not going to fly. It's got to be in good condition. But again, when you're talking about the houses that we work with, 250, 300,000, 350,000, these are nice houses. And as far as the repairs, while the buyers in the they get a home warranty on the property. So if something AC or hot water heater, whatever, were to break, they just contact the home warranty company and boom, it's done.
All right, let's kind of talk about that. Let's define a typical lease option deal here a little bit, because most people are thinking junky houses, high equity. being able to come in lowball homeowner. So are you ever doing this with high equity properties, or is this only for low equity deals? Are you?
Yeah, so the equity doesn't matter to me. They can own it free and clear. It doesn't matter to me. But the point is that the owner, in my 3-day event, which we can talk about, later here, I break down the levels of desperation of a homeowner, right? And it starts off for sale by owner, then for rent by owner, then MLS, then lease, all right, then wholesale subject to foreclosure. And I talk about the mindset of each one. Well, the levels of desperation for someone doing a homeowner looking to do a lease option assignment, they're not that far down the scale where they're willing to give up 30% equity, right? They're just kind of looking for a plan B, right? So plan A is someone comes along, makes you a cash offer, and boom, you're done, all right? And by cash offer, I mean they may be getting financing through a mortgage company, but to the owner, it's still cash, right? So when that doesn't work, they're looking at plan B. Well, most times they think plan B is to rent it out, right? But they don't want to be landlords. That was not their intention. Well, that's where we come in, because leasing to buy is actually plan B. It's far, far better than renting. So to answer your question, it doesn't matter if they have a lot of equity or no equity, to us.
Well, I'm going to step back for a second. What about on the difficulty to get someone alongside your thought process that this is a great way to go? If they have a big equity position, are they more likely just to say no, they'd rather just sell it the traditional way? Or is it more likely that you're just only getting these properties that have low equity versus high equity is kind of what I was getting at? More pushback because they have options to sell it quickly.
Most of the properties we work with, most of them don't have a whole lot of equity. They probably own the house most of the houses we work with are less than, say, 8 years old.
Right.
That's just because of the marketing that we do. That's just how it works out. But if a homeowner has a lot of equity, normally if a homeowner has a lot of equity, it's an investor that bought it and rehabbed it, and now they're looking to sell it. Which we used to do a lot of work with home investors, as you know. But yeah, most of the houses we work with are probably 8 years old or newer.
What about price points? When does it become a negative return on your time, energy, and stress levels to do a lease option? I mean, you can do it on any price point, but because how much time and effort it takes to do, and where should people stay kind of below or above? You said 250, maybe 300 earlier? Or?
Yeah, so depending on where you live, it depends on your price point. But for here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and even in, say, Houston, San Antonio, the markets that I know pretty well, I don't like to go below 200, maybe 225,000, but we'll call it 200. Okay, and that's not a hard stop. You get to 200, and it's going to be a case-by-case basis. We'll call it 200, upwards to, say, 350. And what happens is below 200, and really, say, 160, 150, 140, what's going to happen is you're getting a house that's going to be older in most cases. It's going to have inherent issues with it that it may seem fine now, but as soon as the buyers move in, they haven't even finished unpacking, and suddenly they got a water leak or something. And now, so what's happened is now you immediately start off this relationship, and they're mad at everybody. And now you're trying to make nice with everyone, and it's become a pain in the ass. And all you made on this stupid thing was like $5,000 or $6,000, And so I used to do a lot of houses below, say, 180,000. And I've done it. I've done this for 16 years. And what I found was, as I progressed, I was like, what is causing me the biggest headaches? And inevitably, it was the lower priced houses, because you got houses that inherently had issues. You had owners that really didn't care as much about the houses anyway. So when I call them and go, hey, I was just signing the paperwork at the house here, and the stove blew up and burned down part of the kitchen, and the owners don't care because it's a piece of crap house, right? And now you got buyers in there that have renters mentality. So the people that you get and this is a pretty broad, statements that I'm making here, but when you're working with, say, a $120,000 house, and you're doing a lease option on it, you're going to get people in there that a lot of them have never owned a house before, and they've got that renter mentality. It just so happened that they got their income tax back, and boom, we're going to get a house. But guess what? 6 months later, they're just renters. And that's what I don't want. So I like about between 200 and 350,000. Above 350, it gets harder, more difficult to find the buyers.
Okay, that's great. As far as cost effectiveness on this type of strategy, a lot of people that be looking to, kind of add this on top of the strategies that they're doing right now, wholesaling, flipping. What is the cost requirement? Is this something they're bringing a lot of money out, or are they just having a small option money up there, or what does it take to get to that, let's say, $16,000 type of deal you talked about earlier? What's the risk for the front end investor coming out?
So I would say $68. Yeah, that's the cost of aluminum sign. Dude, I'm telling you, that's the great thing about lease options. For the investor, for me, I literally have nothing at risk, nothing outside of a sign, a $68 sign, because I'm not taking over payments, right? I'm not doing any repairs in the house. When a realtor, when you take on a listing, Connor, you don't have any risk in it, right?
Right.
Well, I don't have any risk in a lease option. This is a lease option assignment. Now, a sandwich lease option is different. A sandwich lease option has inherent risk, just like a sub-2 does, right? Because guess what? You're going to be responsible for payments. So I've lost money on 2 deals, and both of them were sandwich lease options. This is years and years and years ago, back when I still had a full head of hair and a ponytail. I mean, this was a long time ago. But one time I lost like $1,400, something like that. The other one I lost over $10,000 because they left it in such a horrible. It was a crap show.
You want to go through that? Because I think a lot of people
Sure, yeah. You want to go ahead and go through the crap? Yeah.
I want to kind of put some salt in the wound, but
yeah. That's exactly what you want to do.
Learning how to make money is one thing, and doing things correctly is one thing, but not making mistakes is another way to make money. They go hand in hand, and they ultimately create your net income. So it's important that these young investors, if they're going to experiment, to know, hey, if the legend of lease options can lose money, how did he do it? To stay away. So they lose a lot more.
So when I was a day trader, this is really important stuff. So when I was a day trader, I had notebooks that, there's legal pads just like this, and every day, in the way, look at you, look at us. This is our CRM. Podio.
To pay the big money for it, to learn how to run your business off a $2 notepad.
Exactly. When I can't tell you how many students, that I'm just like pulling teeth with, and I'm like, what have you been doing the last week? Can't get a hold of you. They're like, I'm just trying to get this Podio thing going. I'm like, who the hell told you to get a Podio? I'm like, wow, how many leads do you have? They're like, well, not any yet.
Well, I heard that one guy's making $1 million a year. Did you see his tax returns? No.
You're right.
They don't know. They're all doing things that they're being told to do because they're seeing people tell them to do it that they think are doing it, but they're not doing that.
But they're not doing it.
Yeah, they're not doing it.
And this is when I do a live event and we do the seller calls and stuff. I mean, the people in the audience see me. I got a yellow pad. Here we go, guys. Boom, boom, boom. But going back to how I lost money with day trading, I had a pad, and I had all the way you make your rules in day trading, the way you get rules that you live by is by your mistakes. So when you lose money, you write down, I bought this many shares at this time. And this is day trading, all right? You mark down the time of day you bought it, what you bought, why you bought it, and then when you sell it, did you make or lose money? And why? Why did you lose money? Almost every single trade that I lost money on, that any trader does, is because they broke a rule. And by the way, if you're...
they're coming to get John, guys.
Man,
They found out where you're at.
Yeah, that's what... Well, it's because the battery's been low on my ankle monitor. So when you break your rules, that's when you lose money. Here comes another one.
This time, John. Is this going to be the last time?
I hope I'm the only interview where you've got like freaking SWAT team showing up.
There you go, viral. So hopefully.
So what happens is when you're day trading, you keep a tab of all your trades and the rules you make, and you make your rules through the mistakes you've made. Well, on the two trades two money, which isn't too bad in 16 years, I guess. But in 2 times I lost money. They were both on sandwich lease options, and I was very naive at the time. I was extremely good at lease option assignments. I mean, I had it down, even though this was years ago. But I broke my rules on sandwich lease options. So the first one was in Keller. This is years ago when Keller School District was just getting big. They were building out there. And I had a house that had a little bit of equity in it, not a whole lot, but a little bit of room. And I thought, well, I can make a little bit on the monthly, but not much. There really wasn't much meat on the bone at all. But I decided, I got greedy, for what really wasn't much money at all. Well, it was a 3-bedroom home. So that thing sat on the market I locked it up. I had to make 2 empty house payments. Finally got a family in there that probably shouldn't quite have been in there. Nice family, but they just couldn't quite afford it. Well, guys, what happens if you've got, say, a sub 2? Or let's just take a sub 2. What happens when you got a sub 2 and 2 months later you can't find a buyer? You become the desperate homeowner. You've just taken the place of a desperate homeowner.
Right.
So now you start breaking rules, right? You get to the point where if they can fog a mirror, they get in the house. You got the down payment, great. Not all down payment, I will work on it, And so on that one, I got people in the house. And I've been making 2 empty house payments. And this couple came along, nice couple that I knew they couldn't quite afford it. Got them in the house, and they didn't really do any damage or anything, but after 8 months, they stopped paying. But they said, hey, we can't afford it anymore. So there was no eviction, thankfully. It was a nice, we all left on good terms. Fortunately on that one, the owner said, hey, I'm just going to put it on the market. I said, okay, great. Let me out of the contract. He put it on the market, sold it. I ended up losing about $1,400 when it's said and done. But thankfully, it wasn't an ugly scenario. The one where I lost $10,000 plus, I broke every rule I possibly could. My partner at the time had had this house in Crowley, okay? And he said, hey, this sandwich lease option thing you're talking about, he said, I think I got a great house. It's got some room in it, equity, this, that. So I said, okay, great. And I didn't babysit the deal. I just, okay, yeah, great, go do it. And the people that we got for the house, he found and didn't vet them. We didn't vet them the way we normally do at all. It was basically the same thing. They had the money down, so okay, you're in the house. Well, then, I don't know, after however many months, Connor, maybe 4 months, I don't know. And this was a horrible time in my life. They stopped making payments right at the same time that my business partner and I, who was a longtime friend, and we're still friends now, but at the time we were going through a breakup, right? Well, and that's a whole other podcast about partnerships, People are so quick to join forces with a friend because it's like going to the principal's office. You ever go to the principal's office and you're like, man, I wish my buddy Connor was with me because it's easier to get your ass whacked by the principal if you got your buddy with you. Same thing with business. You're so quick to grab onto a friend. And so anyway, we were going through our business split, which was very, very painful because it wasn't just business, it was a friendship and everything. At the same time, suddenly this guy's not making payments. And now I'm having to make payments to the owner, dealing with the whole business thing that's going on. It was just a catastrophe. Finally got the guy out, went down to the house to see it. And by now I've made probably 3 empty house payments on it. And it was the nastiest. I've never seen so many cockroaches in my life. It was so bad, Connor, I literally almost called CPS because I knew they had a kid. There's no child should live in that. So, and I talk about this in my live events. You've seen plenty of nasty houses where you open the door, cockroaches, they go running off, right? These cockroaches, I'm not even making this up. I walk in the house and they're all like in the door frames, and everything. I open the door and walk in. They don't run. They look at me like, "What's up? What you looking at?" They weren't scared at all. And I'm walking through the house like this because they're on the door frame and they're everywhere. I had to get a 20-yard dumpster, cleanup crew. That cost me thousands of dollars, right? And trying to just get it, wasn't even, by the time I found an investor to take it over, it still wasn't even livable. And I'd spent over $10,000 just to get the crap out of there and exterminate. And I'm like, this was a disaster. So I lost over 10 grand on that because I broke every rule. I didn't babysit it. I didn't really look at the property. look at the numbers, look at the viability of getting a qualified person in that area, right? And then when we found an applicant, I didn't vet them the way I normally would. I didn't even vet them. I didn't even look at the freaking report. It's like I just left it over, to my business partners, I remember, and it just is a disaster. So when you break your rules, you're very likely going to lose money.
Let's talk about this real quick, the vetting process. But before we do, I want to talk about partnerships real quick. So incredibly important. People jump into these like in a matter of a couple of days or weeks.
Oh, yeah.
Yet it takes years to get out of. Think about that. Very quick to start, almost impossible to get out of, and you're dealing with them for years to go. Just something to point out there. Let's talk about the vetting process here. When you go to the sell side, you've already got the front end homeowner agreeing to do a lease option. Now you're going to find a buyer. What are the vetting requirements? So you're looking at credit score. You're looking at amount of cash that they have to bring down. What are the most important variables?
Yeah, and that's really important. So and that's one of the reasons our success rate. This is really important to talk about. Our success rate with leasing to buy, as far as getting people financed within 10 to 12 months. Keep in mind, we're doing 12-month contracts. All right. Our success at getting people financed in 10 to 12 months is over 98%. That is unheard of in the industry, unheard of. And so the way we do that, first of all, is having nice houses, right? Not crappy houses falling apart, nice houses. Then the vetting on the buyer. How do we vet them? Well, we're pulling a tri-merge report the same way any lender's going to, right? So we're seeing all three scores, but not just all three scores, but what's on the report, right? Because you could have someone with a 620 FICO score, but I look at the report and they just filed a Chapter 13,
right?
But I've seen people with a 580, and I'm like, oh my gosh, if you got 2 secured credit cards, wait 6 months, you're going to be golden. It just depends. So we look at the scores, the overall file, but all three. One report doesn't do crap for us. Doesn't do crap. I got to have all three. Then one of the most important things is DTI, debt to income. Disqualifies more candidates than anything else in our program. Debt to income, and people have to understand that how to calculate debt to income, right? And I teach people how to do that in our boot camps. But DTI is very important, because if you're getting somebody that's going to be very close at 43% DTI, they may be good for our program, but not for that house.
Right. Are you working with these back-end buyers through the process, helping them get their credit up so they can go back and close in the future?
Right. Yeah. So we work with them depending on what they need. We've got different programs that we have, different credit improvement programs that we have. We used to have it somewhat in-house for years and years and years, but now we've got a couple of different companies that we outsource it to, depending on where the people are and what they need. A lot of people that come to us now. We have a lot of people that need to just reestablish credit. They don't have a lot of trade lines, and that's easily done. We show them exactly how to do that, the exact websites to go to, et cetera, to establish credit. And then as far as financing, we have different lenders that we use depending on, what program they need, what state they're in, what city they're in. But yeah, so we've got everything in place for them.
Well, let's talk about that. Let's talk about leasing to buy here, because that's, everybody knows you for two things: King of Lease Options, leasing to buy, hand in hand. You're doing this nationally now, all across the country. And so you can partner and work with individuals. They can work with you, and you're doing events all across the country. Do you know when your next event is coming up? Or
so we just finished. So we're recording this late September 20. What's today? The 28th or something like that. Whatever. So we just finished one in Dallas, and so what we do is, you'll probably put a link on your notes or whatever. But people can go to lease option classes. So we've got two businesses. We've got leasing to buy, where we do the deals. And if people want to see, well, what is John actually doing? They can go to leasing to buy. If they want to learn more about what we sell, as far as we coach and everything, there's lease option classes, and we're going to set up a special link for your viewers as well. But so we just finished up a 3-day in Dallas, and we do 3-day boot camps about 5-6 times a year. We typically do those in either Dallas-Fort Worth, because that's where I am, or Houston. We've got a big following in Houston, and the nice thing is, we don't have to team across the country, although sometimes at different areas across the country. The boot camps are typically in Texas, and people can fly into Houston or Dallas-Fort Worth from any place across the U.S. This last boot camp, we actually had somebody from Colombia. So I'm international now, baby.
And that was the last guest you had from Columbia, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, think about this. So guys, if you like traveling to seminars and boot camps and things like that, John has one of the, not only is it just incredible information, but I mean, think about it. Just watching John for a short time, imagine getting 3 days with him in a room. He does live phone calls with people literally during the event. So it's a really cool event to go to. It's one of my favorite ones, actually. So pretty much everything I know about lease options, I learned from John. I don't know how, but.
Yeah. That was years ago. That was probably 2015.
Well, yeah, maybe even before that. So at the time I was doing wholesaling, and for the same reason you guys right now listening to this, I was a one-trick pony. All I knew was if I can't get a deal where the homeowner will accept it way below market value, I don't have any way to make money. So then I had to go out there and start looking into other ways, taking over payments, lease options, all sorts of different strategies to open up my ability to maximize on my time and money spent on marketing. And so this is what you guys need to be doing as well. So kind of give an idea of what you do. You have a 3-day event, kind of walk them through what you go through. You go through the full process, start to finish. You're you're giving them, I'll just let you explain it.
Yeah. So what we've got at leaseoptionclasses.com, and I want to make very, very clear, guys, we're going to be setting up a special link for Connor. It's going to be leaseoptionclasses.com/Connor. leaseoptionclass.com/Connor. That way that I know you came through Connor, and I can be super nice to you because I'm normally so rude to everybody, but I'll be nice to people that come through /Connor.
He did steal a cookie from one of the last guests that I was at.
But I will. So what we do is I've got our home study course, and it does have we just created the new website that has, I think, 12 or 14 training videos. And the first video is actually mindset. It's about getting your mind right, because that's so important. And one of my favorite parts about the 3-day event is what a section called the Guru Mindset that I didn't even do. You've never even seen it. And it's, I think, really powerful. It's about getting, it's about the 6 words that kill and about the mindset. But anyway, so we've got all these training videos on lease option classes that come with the course. They also get physical materials. They get the binder, our operation manual. They get a flash drive with everything on it. But included in that is a certificate for 2 people to come to a 3-day boot camp. And they can pick whichever boot camp they want to come to. And so at the 3-day boot camp, it's myself and then my coach, Joe, who works with our students, our coaching students. But we go from everything from the mindset all the way through the different types of lease options, how to set the numbers. That's very, very important. I don't know why more educators don't talk about how to properly set the numbers on lease options, but that's crucial. We talk about mortgage guidelines. We talk about marketing, all different types of marketing. We talk about direct mail. We show some of the software that we use, some of the proprietary software that we use that our coaching students have to actually to scrape the internet and go out and email blast different sellers and this and that. All the way to closing deals. We do live seller calls. So by the time, if someone comes to a 3-day boot camp, by the time they're done, they know more about lease options than most of the educators out there.
Well, one of the things, John, is that you guys go through the contract process.
Yes.
You walk through the contracts. And this is what fear stops most investors from learning extra strategies, because it's easy to learn a wholesale option contract or for example purposes, or just a closing contract for an acquisition property. Going into more creative financing, where there's more parts of the contract. I mean, think about it. What does a sandwich lease transaction have as far as how many pieces of paperwork that go through that type of transaction?
Yeah, I don't have one in front of me. I was going to show you. I don't have one. I was going to pull one on a deal we just wrapped up, but it's not right in front of me here. But so our Texas documents are 17 pages long.
Right.
So a lot different than a wholesale. Now, they're not complicated, but when people see that much paper, they freak out. And you know why, Connor? Because there's so many people pushing a one-page contract, which you try to take a one-page contract to court, I feel sorry for you.
That's why they do push the one-page contract, because they know people want to invest the time to learn it. And the things why does this happen, John? You've been in consulting for a long time. All the things that matter is what people don't want to learn. They don't want to learn about how to shelter taxes or how to understand yields and interest rates. They don't want to learn how to do paperwork. All the things that actually really make them money and are going to get the benefits long run. They just want to learn about how to put out bandit signs or what's a strategy. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and you're right. And we cover the contracts in the class. So obviously we cover Texas lease options as well. I'm the one that teaches that section is Texas lease options, but we cover the contracts, Texas law, that. So we just cover everything you could possibly cover in the 3-day boot camp. And these are long days. I mean, the second day, we're going from 9 a.m. till sometimes 7:45 at night. I mean, these are long days. So it's a lot.
I mean, every time I sing you lose your voice at the end of it. So what about this? How about finding buyers? Because this is what Leasing to Buy can help with. So you have your consulting company, but then also what's Leasing to Buy, the website? Because this is kind of similar to maybe how Airbnb has changed the industry, because Airbnb, the reason why people could always do vacation rentals, right? They always could have properties in other markets, but they couldn't find people to consistently fill them. So you have to have the front end side of the process and the back end side of the process to make money in real estate. Buy it, sell it. Now, same thing with lease options. I think a lot of people don't know how to go out there and find the buyer, which also you guys teach. But you have Leasing to Buy, which allows them to essentially put their houses up on your national website, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we have the 3-day boot camp. So what we've got, I'll kind of walk you through the three sections. So we've got just the training, the home study course that people can buy. Then we've got the 3-day boot camp, and then from there we've got the coaching students. And just so people know, we only take on a tiny number of coaching students because to be honest with you, we're busy doing deals, and we want to be able to focus very, very closely on those coaching students. So we won't take on, we only have, I think, like 12 to 14 students, maybe 15 at a time that we're working with for several months. So it's a very small number of students. But those students, the coaching students, have access to leasingtobuy.com, where they can load their houses on our website. We blast them through our marketing portals, et cetera. They have access to contracts for any state, all of our marketing materials. Everything's on the back of Leasing to Buy. So our coaching students have access to all of that, where they can, with our website, it blasts out to multiple websites, and other websites actually feed off of our site. So it helps them a lot finding those buyers because we've been around for so long. So it's a huge advantage for them to find those, the end tenant buyers.
Right. What else, man? You doing anything but lease options? Or you? So
we do real quickly. Then I'll talk about, because I was talking about Texas lease options real quickly.
Lease options, because that's a big topic.
Yeah. So what's interesting is everybody thinks you can't do lease options in Texas over 180 days. Well, you can if you've ever read the law. The law is, I'll admit it's not the best well-written law, but you can definitely do them over 180 days. We do 1-year lease options. The attorney, one of the attorneys that helped draft our contracts, keep in mind our contracts cost me over $30,000 through different law firms, different attorneys, always tighten them. I can't tell you how many people go, hey, do you ever give your contracts away for free? No. Do you ever give your wife away for free? No. But it's $30,000 in these contracts. But one of the attorneys that helped draft them and work with me was one of the top real estate attorneys I've ever met, just hands down. He actually helped write part of Texas property code regarding contract for deed. So, I mean, these are very, very good contracts. But so having said that, with Texas, you can definitely do lease options over 180 days, but you've got to know what the law says. You got to have the right contracts. You got to have the right verbiage in there. And that's why a lot of people come to us or come to me, is because of the Texas contracts. Matter of fact, I've had a number of attorneys back when I had a separate Texas course that would come to me and just buy the Texas stuff because it's that good, it's that powerful. As far as what else I'm doing, that's pretty much it. I'm going to be getting more and more into subject to, because as you know, as the market changes, more and more opportunities start popping up, without even trying over the last week, not even a week, I've had 2 subject to deals come across that weren't even being marketed yet, And so if the numbers work, I'll be doing more subject to deals, especially as the market pulls back, Wholesaling, again, if it falls in my lap and it works, I'll do it. Wholesaling, which I've done wholesaling certainly before, it's just not a cup of tea. I don't like, I call it pee money versus pool money, and I like pool money, where you go to the nice house with a pool versus walking in the house and it smells like cat urine, So P money versus pool money. But so I'm not crazy about wholesaling. It's just not my thing. But if it falls in my lap, I'll do it.
Well, let's talk about it. There's a lot of people who follow my channel from Texas because that's kind of where our channel started launching out of. Why is there this belief that you can't do lease options? What shifted? Why do people believe that?
You mean in Texas?
Yeah, in Texas. What caused that?
So the law changed. So there was no law about lease options until September of 2005. And what happened was there was the original draft of the law, okay, and which was horribly written. And then after all the investors piled on, then Representative Parker down in Beaumont finally got on our side, and they totally changed the law before it actually was signed by Rick Perry. Well, what happened is, just like any rumor, people didn't bother reading the law. I said till 2:30 in the morning after Rick Perry signed the law, or even before he signed the law, because we knew what was going to be signed. I went through line by line by line, seeing what applied in the law, what didn't apply to lease options. And part of the confusion is that contract for deed law in Texas and lease option law is intertwined within the same part of the property code. And so you literally have to pull out what is for lease option. Everything else is for contract for deed, right? Well, apparently nobody does that, and they just assume everything is lease options. So it's not doing their homework, not reading the law, and believing everything they hear on Bigger Pockets. There you go. Don't go to Real Estate Forum for legal advice.
That's good advice right there.
Yeah.
Just like don't go to the internet to try to self-diagnose a health issue. So I had a little eye issue this summer where I was at a movie theater and all of a sudden I couldn't hardly see the screen. And so I started freaking out, and I went on the internet, and before I knew it, John, in 1 minute I had cancer, AIDS, kidney failure, like everything. And I had like a little meltdown, and then it ended up not being as bad.
What was it?
Well, to go on a long story short, this is probably a good lesson for some of you young guys. I was pushing 100-hour weeks, working, doing what I said. I'm one of the real people. I run real businesses, and so I'm not just fake on YouTube. And I was pushing long hours, and I'd go to the gym. I'd put in 16-hour day, go to the gym at night. What happened was it created high blood pressure. And sometimes what happens is it can force white blood cells, I guess, into your eye, between your eyelids and whatever the color part of your eye is. And it literally made me have temporary blindness for a couple of weeks, and I was freaking out. And but
my God,
I was able to be treated. But this is just the reason why, it's good to run hard and rah, put the big hours in and think big and do big things. But at the same time, if you're not around to spend the money once you make the money, so stay hydrated, get your sleep, guys. And what I realized a long time, so I was one of those ones that was like, I guess I'm just talking about I still do this. I push long hours, but I try to take more time off now because actually I think the more I sleep, the more efficient hours I have. So if you're
yes, definitely.
Yeah, and so this is where a lot of young guys need to understand. Let's say you're working 16 hours a week, 16 hours a week, 16 hours a week, or 16 hours a day.
Right.
Yeah, so what happens is after about 10, 12 hours, your cognitive abilities start dropping. Your ability to put in, let's say in a 1 hour time period, you could produce 100 units of whatever success or production or whatever it is. Well, those hours are going to diminish. That's going to diminish over time. So you may only be able to do 50% focused, efficient hours at the end of the day. Whereas if you went and slept more hours, you can get more done with extra hours that you're working. Maybe I butchered that, but I think you guys get what I'm saying.
You're right. And I've noticed that myself. I don't, I work a lot of hours, but there's certain hours where I just don't do certain type of work. So like I do a lot of writing for email copy, for lease option classes. I do a lot of writing for that. Matter of fact, just did Lance Edwards down in Houston, the apartments. Just did a book submission he's coming out with a book early next year, and he asked me to write a chapter in there. Well, writing, as I'm writing stuff, I find that there's times where it's not working. And
right.
You're trying to force something like that, it just comes out with garbage. And so, especially if you don't have to sleep, so you get a little bit of sleep, and then, you get in that groove and you get in that zone. But you're exactly right. There's so many times where I'm just staying up late and going, I'm working really hard, but doing, staying up an extra 4 hours, but you're only really doing equivalent of, say, what you could have done in 30 minutes.
Right.
And just freaking go to bed. go to bed and get up a little early, and you're going to be much more fresh and get your work done. So, and talking about blindness, I remember my dad had told me, he said, if you keep doing that, you're going to go blind. And I said, Dad, I'm over here. That's a little dirty joke for your audience.
We kept him on a leash today, actually, believe it or not.
I know, I'm being good, dude.
But it's important, because you do hit a point where it's a diminishing return, and it's better just to get the rest for one. And then you're going to be in a better mindset the next day, so you're not as quick to jump and snap at people for personal relationships as well as business relationships, and everything just gets to be better. So I find that a good even number of hours to work for me is about 12 hours a day, where I'm still putting in long hours, getting lots done, but also I'm not overexerting myself, and I'm still excited the next morning, because you will hit a point of burnout. I know a lot of people say there's no such thing as burnout, and I said that on my own videos. Yeah. You will burn out at points, but you just need to get your hydration and your sleep levels together, as well as your diet together, and that burnout feeling will trail away. Cool. Yep. Anything else you want to talk about, or let you go annoy someone else, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna go annoy someone else. I'll tell you what. Someone asked me today. I was just talking about writing about the book chapter I wrote. I'm actually already signed with a publicist to write another book. This will be just my own. I co-author another book, Real Estate Rock Stars, that people get when they get their home study. It's actually included in there. It's a book with me and about 5 other authors. It actually hit #1 on Amazon. Really proud of that. But coming out with another one next year. It's going to be about lease options, but it's also going to be about some of my student success stories and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. But I get a lot of people asking me, what got me started in real estate. And so I want to throw out a plug for an old book that it's called 1 Minute Millionaire. And that is the book that got me started. Matter of fact, I've got it right here, Connor.
I should check it out.
Here we go. So 1 Minute Millionaire. For anybody getting started in real estate, I would recommend this. It's a great book. It's by Mark Victor Hansen, as well as Robert Allen. Robert Allen was the king of No Money Down. And this is a great book to read. It's got to be 16 years old, because that's how long Lease and Buy has been around. But this is the book that got me started.
Well, that's a good plug, because I don't think a lot of people have read that one, and it's one that they need to be reading.
Yeah.
Man, always fun to have you on here. We'll put all your links down here below. Other than that, it's just important, guys. You got to understand that, you need to have more tools in your tool bag. We said this a couple of times with podcasts, and this is one of those. So go down the King of Lease Option rabbit hole. He's got a ton of podcasts out there on other shows. Just Google John Jackson, King of Lease Options. He'll start popping up, because we actually even did another podcast where we went down a little bit different path and still covered a lot of good information. That's back on our other channel, Investor Army Podcast. Go check it out. And I promise you guys, if you just go watch all this stuff, you're going to get a good basic foundation, and then go on to the next level. Just go into one of his events. You're going to get the rest of the pieces there. Anything else you want to leave on last words of wisdom?
Man, that's it, Connor. Yeah, definitely encourage people to check out leaseoptionclasses.com. We just totally redid the website. We're going to be adding a ton of videos every week to that are going to be free. They can get the course there as well, which is it's good. I think it's the best course on lease options. Other educators actually send their students to me, especially they're in Texas. So we don't hold anything back in the course. And definitely come to a 3-day event. That 3-day event, it's a life changer for sure. And they're always a lot of fun. You get me in front of a crowd, and it's going to be entertaining. So
a lot of people laughing, a lot of people crying.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people, their feelings.
They were laughing so hard, but just actual real crying because they were in physical pain. I'm just kidding.
That's right.
Well, let me ask you one more thing, because this is probably something people are thinking about. Do you do just basic one-off transaction consulting for like one transaction? Let's say that they live in just a random, say they're in Florida, they call you, that think that they have a deal that can lease option right there. Are you able to step in and help them on a one-off, or is this something that's...
Yeah, it's a good question. So my rule of thumb is this, is if someone hasn't at least bought my materials, I really can't JV with them. I've tried for years, for quite a while, I tried just to JV with people, and I found that it was a tremendous amount of work. I was doing about 99% of the work, and sometimes wouldn't even turn out because they the homeowner wasn't teed up right. It just and so what I recommend is people, if they want to at least do a JV with me, they at least got to get the materials so that when we're having a conversation, we're speaking the same language. Because otherwise it's going to be a lot of time involved that, I want to make sure that it's a success. But so I don't do a lot of JVs. I don't really do a lot of JVs, but if I do, I typically recommend they have my materials, my training materials, because that way they understand when I'm saying doing this, this, and this, they know what I'm talking about,
That's a pretty typical answer for most people doing what you're doing. Let's see what else. I had one more question.
I would also say this, when it comes to, people get very scared talking to sellers. I don't care if it's lease options or wholesaling or whatever. People get so scared about talking to sellers. Now, I'll tell you why, Connor. This goes back to the mindset. They get scared of rejection. And they get scared of rejection because they take it personally. They take it as a hit to the face.
Right.
Oh, and now they get down, tail between the legs, whatever. Don't approach it that way. Don't approach talking to a seller as money. They see it as money, 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 right? And I got to be honest, I get really tired of people posting checks and all this crap on Facebook. To me, that's like if a dentist posted, oh, bam, just filled another cavity, holla, cha-ching, daddy going to the bank. I'm like, bitch, that's what you do. You're a dentist. Why are you posting on Facebook? You just filled a cavity. So you get these, some hosts that are going, oh, I just got a check for, ooh, look at this. They send post a check of $6,000. I'm like, well, isn't that what you do?
It's the same thing. The reason why they're not wanting to talk to people because they don't want to go out there feel that feeling, drops their self-esteem, which hurts their ego. Same reason why they're doing it on the flip side. They want to post it out there because it pups up their ego, right? And now they feel good about themselves. And now they say, look at me, attention on me. So some people are just looking for the quick attention. But guys, if they're posting checks on Facebook, I guarantee you that's probably the only check that they have, and it's not all their money. Like, it drives me nuts.
Exactly, and that's why like
90,000 is their own money.
I was talking about Lance Wakefield, who was here in the DFW area. Really nice guy, but nobody's ever heard of him because he didn't post crap on Facebook. He went from 0 to 175 deals in 1 year.
It's unbelievable.
Really good. But going back to talking to sellers, here's the best advice I can give to people to talk to sellers. Be the doctor. You're the doctor. The homeowner has a problem. They have an illness, okay? They've got a house they can't sell. You're the doctor. You come in, you take note of the situation, of what their problem is, and you go, you know what? Here's my prescription for you. It is a lease option. It is I can take over payments. Whatever that prescription is you're writing, that is their prescription. You're the doctor. That is your job, is to solve their problem. Whether they take that prescription or not is not up to you, right? Whether they accept it or not is not up to you. They still have, if they don't take the prescription, they still have that illness, right? You're the doctor. And if you go at it with the mindset of, I'm here to help you, and I've got a prescription. Now, whether you take it or not is up to you. But I'm not, I'm just here to help you. You don't like it? Okay, great. You may change your mind. I'm here to help. I know you got a situation. No harm, no foul, but you have the prescription. Approach it from that mindset. Right. Boom. There goes all nervousness. There goes all the, they can't hurt my ego. They can't go, no, I don't think it's going to work. Okay, well, I gave you a prescription. And guess what? It's not uncommon for them. We've got one right now in Frisco. Almost 2 months later, she's emailing. Do you think we could still do that lease option thing we were talking about? They still have the prescription right there in front of them. And now they're calling the doctor back, right? So it doesn't hurt my ego. So that's the best advice I can give to talking to sellers. Be the doctor.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Thank you for coming on here. Grateful to see you always. And guys, go check out the last podcast we did, just like last week with Grant. Grant Kemp is also a friend of John and I's. And then watch both those and then come back and rate who you like better, just so you hurt one of their egos.
Give me 5 stars. Can you give 5 stars? I don't even know what channel is it. Is this YouTube? Is this Connor.com? I don't even know what the hell we're doing. I just did this because I feel sorry for you.
That's how bad it's gotten for John Jackson. He just has to show up on shows that he doesn't even know what they are. Just
That's right. Just how sad it is for me. That's sad, pathetic.
No, in all honesty, a lot of people have had a lot of help from you, John, and appreciate you coming on here. And we'll get back on sometime in the future. And other than that, we're done for the day, guys. And we'll see you when we see you. Have a good day.